Hello, Pawn Stars, and welcome to the Rathole. I'm your host, Commissioner Zack Eichten. Let's get right into the Week 11 recaps. In game number 1, we had Brennan and the Spring Chickens beating Sam in the Google team names 119.44 to 96.26. So let's talk about the names first. Kyler Murray, bit of a down week against Seattle. He only threw for 2 touchdowns, 5 carries for 15 yards. 20.26 points. For a lot of quarterbacks, that's a fantastic score. But for Kyler, when you're expecting almost 40 points, that's a really tough one for you to recover from. Melvin Gordon had a great game, actually. 2 touchdowns. Did have a fumble on his win over Miami, but overall, pretty good game. DK Metcalf and Will Fuller both had double digits as well, but really on the margins here. Nyheim Hines only getting 6.8 points. Juju Smith-Schuster, 3.9, 1.8 from Logan Thomas. It makes it really tough to get a win, even with 96.26 points. It was not enough to beat the trending upward Spring Chickens, who had the just spectacular Dalvin Cook performance at 22.5 points. Aaron Rodgers coming in at 21.74. Chase Claypool and CeeDee Lamb both getting double digits, just under or just over 14 points for both of them, which really made up for some pretty bad scores from Ryan Suckup, Jacoby Myers, and Rob Gronkowski. But in classic Brennan Swan fashion, of course, his defense came through with him. Cleveland defense getting a touchdown, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and a fumble recovery for 22 points over Philadelphia. Absolutely fantastic for the Spring Chickens, and was able to get the W, moving them to 5-6. Let's talk about game number 2 then. Very, very close matchup. Drew Mahold's luck has completely changed from the beginning of the year. Beating the Gruesome Grinders, beating the Dog Sniffers 139.02 to 136.62. Man, that was a heartbreaking loss for the Dog Sniffers, as they needed just this much more out of Ronald Jones, and was not able to get that this week. So let's talk about Dog Sniffers overall. Deshaun Watson, fantastic, 31.36 points. He apparently hates running the football to his running back, so he'll just do it himself. Gets a rushing touchdown in that game. As I said earlier, Ronald Jones only got 10 carries and 1 target that he did not catch, only 2.4 points. Man, that is just a killer. But James Conner did fine, 11.4 points, classic RB2 in James Conner there. Keenan Allen has been fantastic so far this season. He is the number 3 wide receiver on the season so far in PPR formats, which is astounding, honestly, and a really good receiver for Thomas to be looking at potentially keeping next year. But along with that was Kelsey and Andrews finally hitting the same week where both of them decided to go off. Kelsey at 22.86 and Andrews at 18.1. Even on the week where both of his tight end set hit the boom side of Boomer Bust, still was not able to get the win, though. And we will have to go over and talk about the Grinders, who did manage to get another very close and very lucky win this year. Starting with Pat Mahomes. Man, the guy is very good, but he really didn't have that amazing of a fantasy game. He threw 2 touchdowns on 348 yards, but he did have an interception and had to throw 45 times, of which he only completed 34 of those passes. Derrick Henry, fantastic big win in over Baltimore in overtime with 133 yards and a touchdown. The guy's really doing amazing stuff down there still this year. Mike Davis still getting the start, potentially not next week, but this week he did manage to get that start in their win over Detroit. 14.9 points for Mike Davis. Tyreek Hill continues to save the day. Tyreek Hill is the number 2 receiver in PPR formats this year, number 12 overall in PPR formats. And then Tyler Lockett finally had a boom week for being on the Grinders team. 17.2 points for Tyler Lockett. Dallas Goedert, a touchdown, fantastic. And then Kenyon Drake also somehow getting a touchdown against Seattle. Really just a fantastic match, and you got to feel bad for the dog sniffers in that one. In game number 3, we had an upset in worse than trash over not trading Lamar, 134.84 to 90.24. Now, there was a lot of speculation in the Pick'em segment last week that Worse Than Trash had some excellent matchups coming into his game against not trading Lamar. And it turned out that was absolutely true. Justin Herbert scoring 27.74 against the Jets. Damian Harris getting a touchdown against Houston. Clyde getting 2 touchdowns in their win over Las Vegas. DJ Moore not having a touchdown, but having a 21-yard carry as well as 127 receiving yards. Justin Jefferson getting a touchdown. TJ Hawkinson still getting 68 yards on his 4 receptions. Hunter Henry getting a touchdown. And then Joey Slide just kicking a lot of field goals over there too. So really the matchups for Worse Than Trash just worked out fantastically for him in week 11. Not trading Lamar, might want to think about trading Lamar, honestly, after this season. Lamar Jackson in his player rankings, he's the number 9 quarterback so far in the year. But he really has had a rough go of it, especially in this last week against Tennessee, where he only got 16.54 points. Granted, I'm pretty sure now my memory's bad, but I'm pretty sure it was raining pretty bad. So it's understandable why he had a pretty abysmal, score there as far as passing yards, only getting 186 passing yards, but still not what you want from your title character score from Josh's team. Ezekiel Elliott, though, did get a touchdown against Minnesota in their win. James Robinson continues to score double digits most weeks. All weeks? Question mark? Let me check that, actually. All but 2 weeks. Wow. A fantastic pickup for Josh and James Robinson. Chris Godwin and Terry McLaurin both did fine, but Hayden Hurst getting 0 points on only 2 targets is just a tough score to see for Josh. Even if AJ Brown did remember how to play football. And then the Patriots scoring 0 points on defense. Who would have thought that would happen? Not me, but apparently it happens. And Josh is unable to get the win over Tony. Moving on to game number 4, we thought it would be a close matchup. We were wrong. It was Randy's Donuts versus the Rat Plopstas. Rat Plopstas getting 128.68 points, moving on to 8-3 and officially clinching a playoff spot. And then Randy's Donuts going to 4-7 after scoring their first sub 100 point performance on the year at 90.5. So let's break down how that happened. First of all, Alvin Kamara, 10.5 points. And the first game in his NFL career to not get a catch. That is mind-boggling. It's his lowest point total on the year so far with 10.5 points. Still double digits, but barely. He only had 13 carries as well. It was just a really weird game plan for the New Orleans offense with Taysom Hill behind center instead of Drew Brees. Kalen Ballage came in 10.6 points. That's fine. It's nothing special. Michael Thomas finally scoring double-digit points this year at 14.9, but still just not what you expect from the top receiver of last year. And then Calvin Ridley getting held to only 5 receptions is just not good. And then the worst part of this whole offense is the newest donut who got the start in the flex spot, Marquise Brown, 0 points. Man. Luckily, Rodrigo Blankenship continues to just be fantastic and just honestly wonderful, but not up against the Rock Plopstas who came out swinging. Russell Wilson, who only got 20.8 points, kind of a low scoring week for most quarterbacks, especially against a tough Arizona defense. Miles Sanders getting sub 10. Aaron Jones held to barely over 15. And then really what happened though is the receiving core came out for this squad. Devontae Adams scoring 20 points, Darren Waller scoring 18.3, Nick Chubb also coming in with an 11-point performance. But of course, as always, the Steelers coming through. They only allowed 3 points. They had 4 interceptions and 2 sacks against Jacksonville. It's hard to even compare the Steelers to anyone. They're the number 1 ranked fantasy defense on the year so far, and number 45 overall player to have on the team this year, which is truly astounding that they're ranked that high in overall rankings as well. Good win for the Rock Plopses. Now let's get this over with. Game of the week was the Gluten Frauds up against Pelicans on a bench. It is Pelicans on a bench. I'm gonna cry. Zack loses to Lukas, moves to 5-6. Lukas' second win on the season. Now 2-9, wins 98.6 to 80.28. Let's look at what went wrong for the Gluten Frauds. Number 1, Josh Allen on bye. Ben Roethlisberger, even in a 27-3 win over Jacksonville, only scored 16.68 points. Outrageous. Duke Johnson, apparently they just hate running backs in Houston. Only 10 carries on the game for 5 points. Just really bad. Really a bad score from my guy Duke there. Kareem Hunt had a touchdown taken away. Jesus. 8.6. Julio Jones, kind of injured, kind of banged up on the day, only 4.9. He caught both of his targets, but he wasn't in the game for the whole game. Julio was getting a ton of coverage against Seattle, only 7.6. Eric Ebron got a touchdown. Cool, dude. Awesome. Your 4 receptions for 36 yards, though, not going to be great unless you get that touchdown. And then Josh Jacobs, just they only gave him the ball 17 times. I don't know what anybody expected. Need at least 20 plus carries from my guy. And then Denver came to play against Miami, and they were able to win. So the Miami defense, who was ranked number 4, it still is ranked number 4, but they are now ranked number 69 overall. Pelicans on a bench, though, I guess came to play despite Carson Wentz trying to throw the game, and Rex Burkhead getting injured, probably tearing an ACL for Lukas. It just was enough. Adam Thielen was able to score 28.3 points on 2 touchdowns in really the worst possible situation where the Vikings lost and I lost because of Adam Thielen. Is tough. Devontae Parker, a touchdown, good for him. He had 6 out of 9 receptions there, good for him. And then Johnny Smith got a touchdown. And then Younghoe Koo is MVP of this squad for sure. Potential keeper, absolutely. We'll have to see where Lukas goes from here. But that was how the Pelicans on a bench, just ran up the score against a Gluten Frauds team that did not come to play. So that's the recap from week 11. We got 2 weeks left of regular season, but let's head into the fun fact. This past week was the trade deadline, and our fun fact of the week. Well, our fun fact of the week is that we had 47 trades in this past season. That's right, 47 trades. That is truly outrageous. I'm so happy that we were able to have just like this much engagement on the trading side of things. One thing I will point out for the future is that this trade deadline was just sort of arbitrarily chosen. And if folks want to change that trade deadline to earlier or later in the season, that is something that we can look at doing in the off-season rules discussion. So keep that in mind. If you like this, that's great. If not, we can look at changing that. Last year, for context, we had 7 trades. So we had 40 more trades this season than we had all of the previous season. So great work, everybody. Very excited. Our number 1 trade participant was Drew Mahold, who was able to get one last final trade off to take the title of this year's Trade Master at 16 trades, snagging it from Noel, who was at 15. Lukas at 13 trades, Brennan at 11, John at 9, Sam and Zack and Tony tying at 7, and then Thomas and Josh tying at 5. So great work, everybody, and I'm excited for the offseason moves that we get next year. Now, let's head on over to the Mahold Minute.
All right, another episode of the Mahold Minute on the Rathole here. It's Thanksgiving week, so I figured, hey, I should let everybody know what I'm thankful for, aside from the sentimental stuff, the family, the friends, all that good stuff, all the things I'm blessed with, all that. Besides that, I'd like to first say that I'm thankful for Allen Robinson. Last Monday night, needed about, 8.5 points for John to beat me, and scored 8.4. So I appreciate Allen Robinson. Number 2, Ronald Jones. Needed like 4.8, I think, for Thomas to beat me this past week, and scored a healthy 2.4. Thank you, Ronald Jones. And lastly, I am thankful for mashed potatoes, because I will be eating lots of mashed potatoes this weekend with gravy.
All right, welcome back. Now, we have some pretty tight knit rankings. If you look at those average rankings, there's about 5 teams that are this close to each other in average rank. So, you might get, 4, but you're only about a couple points back from the team who is in 8th. So just keep that in mind moving forward. We had a big rise from Tony there. I don't know if you guys saw that as well. Keep that in mind. He's on the up and up. Let's get into the matchup previews for Week 12. Only 2 weeks left to make the playoffs. Big playoff push. Technically, only one team has officially locked, but 2 have pretty much locked in not trading Lamar and the Google team names. So let's get into previews for this week. Preview number 1, we have the gluten frauds up against the spring chickens. This is a tough one. We have a lot of potential on both sides here to be completely fraudulent, as we have seen in the past for these 2 teams, and also the opportunity to really just run up the score. Back in week number 2, I believe, these 2 teams faced off against each other. Zack winning 160 to 143. So hopefully for the frauds that can be replicated in order to get back on track to make the playoffs. Both these teams pretty much need to win to be able to keep those playoff hopes alive. Let's get in the matchup then. Josh Allen versus Aaron Rodgers. Dalvin Cook up against Duke Johnson. I think we all know where we're putting our money. Duke for sure. He's gonna beat Dalvin, guaranteed. Kareem Hunt is in the lineup right now. We'll see if that remains up against Jacksonville defense. Chris Carson is in the lineup right now. Questionable if he's going to be able to play this week or not. Julio versus Claypool. Dean versus Kenny G. And then we'll have to see if Zach Ertz can make the lineup or if Eric Ebron will be starting in this lineup instead for another week. And honestly, who knows? Raheem Mostert might be back. That's cool. Like I really can't. I can't say. Who's going to be in the lineup. Both these teams have so many injuries on the bench that who makes the final lineup is still up in the air. But hopefully it will be folks that can give both of these teams a good chance of winning. But hopefully one team more. All right, let's move on to a game that really has no impact on the playoffs other than some seeding in the top part of the bracket. It is the Google team names versus Pelicans on a bench. That is Pelicans on a bench, where we have Kyler Murray up against Carson Wentz still. Looks like Kyler Murray is questionable for the matchup, but that's only speculation that he won't be able to play. He should be able to make the starting lineup by Sunday. We'll have to see if these running back combos of Melvin Gordon, Nyheim Hines up against Darrell Henderson and Giovanni Bernard, who has the worst set of running backs. It's really hard to tell at this point. Nobody knows for sure. Both sides have some pretty big downfalls there, but what is really going to be exciting is who's going to be in the lineup for wide receiver. We know that the names have one of the best wide receiver cores in the league. And of all the positions, receivers, the one that Pelicans on a bench actually has players. But Adam Thielen being on the COVID list is going to make that more difficult. So what I'm most excited about in this entire matchup, though, is the kickers and the potential here. We have Justin Tucker, my old favorite kicker. We have Young Wei-Koo, my new favorite kicker. It's going to be exciting who can kick their way to victory on this team. Moving on to game number 3, we have the Rock Plopstas up against the Dog Sniffers. It's two of my favorite quarterbacks in the league, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson. Deshaun, feel free to start doing some checkdowns at Duke. I would love that. Please do that. Please do that. I need that. Deshaun, get you some more points too. And then, God, please, Deshaun, please, I'm begging you. But Miles Sanders, Ronald Jones, Aaron Jones, James Conner, going to be exciting. Devontae Adams is coming in as the number 1 wide receiver in PPR formats up against Keenan Allen, who's the number 3 receiver in PPR formats. Both should be pretty exciting. Devontae is up against a tough Chicago secondary, though, so we'll see how that goes for him. Robbie Anderson somehow is number 14 on the year. I don't understand how that happened, but Tyler Boyd is number 12 on the year. So this is a really exciting matchup for the implications on those receivers and see who's going to be kept. And then, of course, we have our number 1 tight end in Travis Kelce up against the number 2 tight end in Darren Waller. These two teams are going to be exciting to watch. And then obviously 2 fantastic defenses in the Saints and the Steelers. Right now it is giving the Rock Plopstas a big chance to win over the Dog Sniffers on Sleeper. But as we've seen from the Dog Sniffers, they definitely have the potential to get some winning scores against other teams in this league. So let's move on to game number 4, where we have Randy's Donuts versus not trading Lamar. Lamar Jackson up against a tough Pittsburgh defense. We'll see how that goes for him. Cam Newton up against Arizona. Arizona held Russell Wilson to pretty low score for Russell Wilson standard. So we'll see how Cam Newton does there. Alvin Kamara and potentially Christian McCaffrey, both in the lineup for Randy's Donuts, who is not yet officially eliminated from playoffs. A loss here would eliminate him officially, but will not be enough to just lose one game. Randy's Donuts still has an opportunity here to make playoffs if he scores well, and that's definitely possible with the lineup of Cam Newton, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, and Calvin Ridley. Fantastic. And then, of course, you cannot forget Rodrigo Blankenship, all aboard the Blankenship. For Josh, though, hopefully some more consistency from his players. I said that he wouldn't lose. He did. That's unfortunate. But, Zeke and James Robinson both have some tougher matchups. Chris Godwin, tougher matchup. Terry McLaurin has a good matchup against Dallas, but a lot of this team has some really tough matchups this week, and we're just going to have to see who is going to go off and if anybody will be able to go off. Really, definitely, just who knows how that one's going to work out. Finally, in game number 5, we have our Pong Stars Game of the Week. Stars Game of the Week, we have Worse Than Trash up against the Gruesome Grinders, our 2 6-5 teams, and some pretty big playoff implications here. Right now, somehow, Tony has a spot in the playoffs. And if he can win out, he pretty much locks it up. There would be no way for other people to catch him if he wins out. But he kind of has to win out to guarantee that spot based on the points for averages. There's a good chance that if Tony loses, he will lose that spot based off of tiebreakers for that points for. Drew has a bit of an advantage on points for, so he can probably stand to lose one game without fully getting out of playoff contention. But either way, we'll have to see who wins this one up here. Last week, Worse Than Trash coming in with close to 135 points. Gruesome Grinders at almost 140 points. So we'll have to see how it goes. Justin Herbert has a fantastic matchup against Buffalo. DeAndre Swift should be back against a Houston defense that has allowed a lot of points to opposing running backs. But then it gets a little trickier here where you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire up against a tougher Tampa Bay defense and Justin Jefferson up against a tougher Carolina defense. But DJ Moore against Minnesota, I mean, we'll have to see how that balances out between those two. Big question, will Cam Akers make the lineup? He had his first NFL touchdown in week number 11. Will he be there for week 12? No, he won't be. But speculative, yes, he will be. For Drew and the Gruesome Grinders, who have now moved to a positive record for the first time this season, Pat Mahomes up against Tampa Bay, definitely tougher. Derrick Henry up against Indianapolis, definitely tougher. And will Mike Davis still be a starting running back? That is the question. Or will David Montgomery or Kenyon Drake get promoted into that second running back spot if Christian McCaffrey is active? It's really hard to say. Tyreek Hill, number 2 receiver. Tyler Lockett, number 4 receiver in PPR formats this year. And then Dallas Goedert has been averaging pretty good when he's been playing. He's kind of a boomer bust guy, as the Eagles are bad. We'll have to see if he can boom against Seattle. And then the final piece here is just, will the Vikings defense be able to hold Carolina to a low enough score where they can get some points in that category as well? Massive playoff implications in pretty much every game this week. So we'll just have to see how it goes. Week 13 is coming up, last possible week to make it in the playoffs. We'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how it goes. Let's head on over now to the Pong Stars Pick'em.
Update. I did not have to pay Brennan $5.
What was that for again?
He did not text baloney in the group message.
Oh, I almost texted him just to sit text in the group message.
No, it's off now. It's off now.
Dang it.
Yeah, you got to come up with a new code word.
No, that was a one-time thing. I'm not doing that again.
I'll do it.
Somebody else can offer $5.
I'll do it.
Not
I'll
doing
do it.
that every week.
Drew, you're not singing right now.
Zach, you're gonna have to cut a lot of this out, man. Holy shit!
All right.
Sam, have you
I
seen our
already-
Let's
videos?
start. Shut up, Noel.
Sam, have you seen our videos?
Welcome, folks, to this week's episode of the Pong Stars Pick'em. Thank you, Pick'em players, for being here this week. Let's hop into it, because if I think about what happened last week, I am going to be too sad, and we're looking forward at this point. So let's start with matchup number one, massive playoff implications here, where we have the Gluten Frauds versus the Spring Chickens. Zack versus Brennan, and we're starting with Drew. Where are we going with this one?
One team is trending downward, one team is trending upward. I will take the team that is trending upward and the Spring Chickens.
Yeah,
Which is actually not. Now that I look back at my picks, I realize I did not pick Swan initially, so we'll change my pick.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, I get it. John, we're gonna go over to you then.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Spring Chickens as well. I think that Dalvin Cook's obviously the X factor, and I think against Carolina he's gonna have a big week. So sorry, Gluten
That's
Frauds.
Brian, but whatever.
What?
Noel,
That's Brian.
who you got?
I am going with the Frauds this week. I think he's pulling back for a large comeback. You gotta go backwards to go forwards.
Minor setback for a major comeback.
Sure.
I think it's one step forward, two steps back, and then you fall down or something like that. So
Well, I've
But
certainly fallen from grace. Sam, who do you got in this one?
I have got Brennan and the Spring Chickens making a playoff push after what they did last week. I think they're just going to keep it rolling.
yes, Sam's voice has an impact on how Swan's team plays.
Thomas, who you got?
I need the Spring Chickens to win this week, so the Spring Chickens are going to win.
Nice.
I don't know if that is what you want.
That's weird. Thomas told me to pick himself last week, and he lost. So
Yeah, questionable.
yeah,
I need the Gluten Frauds to win.
Nice.
So I'm picking them. They got it. Come on, Austin. Trade
Oh yeah, that's right. How's that trade working out for you?
Badly.
Austin Eckel, her.
It is going poorly. Let's move on to game number 2, where we have
Drew, I love your face.
what?
I just love how Drew's face is just right there.
Just pitch black behind him. It's very
Sorry about my face.
Game number 2, we got we have the Randy's Donuts up against Not Trading Lamar. Randy's Donuts versus Not Trading Lamar. Drew, who do you got?
This is my lock for this week. I have Not Trading Lamar bouncing back big. McCaffrey still looks like he's going to be out. And then you look at Palingo's lineup. He's got some solid receivers. James Robinson, a good matchup. Zeke will be heavily involved. I am going with Not Trading Lamar, despite maybe a downward trend for that team recently.
John.
I am going to go with Noel's team, Randy's Donuts. I think they're gonna win this week, and even though Noel doesn't think he has a playoff chance, he might have an opportunity to make some noise come week 13.
He's not eliminated yet. Noel?
I guess I picked myself somehow. So sure.
That is what
I picked against myself last week, so we'll try the other way this time.
Samer, who you got?
I've got Noel and Randy's Donuts. I think they're ready to play spoiler, and with an outside chance at the playoffs, who knows what happens.
All right, Tomas.
That is the moss that grows on a toe. I need
Gross.
not trading Lamar to win, so he's gonna win. I need him to keep Noel out.
Nobody can keep me out except myself.
That well.
Oh, hey, sorry
Lucas
then.
and
Noel.
Cody, apparently.
Yeah.
I am going to pick Josh though. Not trading Lamar. Massive frauds, but I said they would not lose the rest of the season, so sticking with that one.
Have they won since you made that claim?
I think so.
1 and 2.
They beat me because I out fraudulented them.
Yeah, you're a fraud.
fraudulent people.
You're a fraud too. Let's move on to game number 3. We got the Rock Plopsters versus the Dog Sniffers.
Oh, this will be a fun one.
We are going over to Drew Mahold for this one.
I'm gonna take the Dog Sniffers in this one. Actually, I saw a lot of potential from the Dog Sniffers last week, and okay, I can't have a straight face with that. But tough matchup for the Packers this week against the Bears. I think that's gonna plague the Rock Plopsters. So I'm gonna take the Dog Sniffers.
John, in your own match.
Well, you already know I'm taking the Rock Plopsters, although I do love saying the Dog Sniffers. They kind of betrayed me last week. I know it wasn't really their fault. But the real reason for this pick is that Thomas just refuses to trade me Keenan Allen for some reason, and I'm not happy about it.
I mean, he's shit, so I don't know why I haven't traded him.
Questionable. All right, Noel.
Okay, I'll take him in the offseason.
Just for that, I'm picking the Rock Plopsters because Thomas thinks he's funny and he's not.
That's also correct. This is true.
Accurate. Samer, what do you got?
I have got John and the Rock Plopsters. I think if I did my math correctly, if they win this week, they have a chance to lock up the number 1 seed if things fall into place for them. So
not a chance.
Also, Sam, how did you pronounce his team name?
Oh, probability.
I don't know. Rock Plopsters.
Who?
Who is that?
Rock
I don't know who that
Plopsters.
is.
The Rock Plopsters.
There it
Don't
is.
Oh,
ever-
that
I've got-
team.
I've got John rolling this week. I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah, you're right.
Thomas,
Big.
Thomas, who you got in your own match?
As much as I love saying the Rock Plopsters, I gotta take the Dog Sniffers. Because I need them to win, which is myself.
Why?
Well, everyone I said so far gives me a shot at the playoffs. So
Yeah,
that's
I'm
why I
going
need
that
this to
same
happen.
route. I'm definitely going that same route as Thomas. I'm going with the Rock Plopsters over the Dog Sniffers because I want Thomas to lose so I can get into playoffs.
That's fair.
Let's move on to game number 4 here. Game with 0 playoff implications between the Google team names and Pelicans on a bench. That is Pelicans on a bench. So, Drew, who do you got in spot number 1 here?
I'm going to take the Pelicans on a bench. That is Pelicans on a bench. I'm going to pick the upset this week. Saw a bit of fire last week. They're going to carry the momentum into this week against the Google team names.
It was more of a fizzle, but it was stronger than the other team's weak, pathetic excuse of a fire.
Details aren't important here.
Yeah. John?
I am not taking Pelicans on a bench. I am taking Pelicans on a bench. I'm taking the Google team names, and they're my lock. I haven't given any credit to Sam this year. I'm finally doing it when he plays the worst team. So locking him. If he loses, I'll be very disappointed.
Noel?
Yeah. Pelicans on a bench. That's Pelicans. Damn it, why'd you laugh? On a bench. They showed some fight last week, and they're not gonna win again this week. So I got Google team name.
Oh my god.
Dumb.
Sammer?
I would say no. I love the switcheroo there.
Thank you.
I've got myself and the Google team names rolling. I think Lukas. I mean, just playing spoiler last week in the Commissioner's Cup to take home another trophy for the year in his second win of the season. But Adam Thielen having COVID, that's not looking good for his team. I've got myself getting back on the winning track here heading into the playoffs.
Thomas, who you got?
I was going to go with Google team names, but everything that everybody has just said has now convinced me to choose Pelicans on a bench. That is Pelicans on a bench.
I'm not taking.
Also, that's my lock.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Let me mark that down. I am taking Googled team names. My brain just froze for a second there. That was me. Yeah, Pelicans on a bench. That is Pelicans on a bench. Tough for me, but not for Sam. Let's move on to our Pong Stars game of the week then, where we have Tony and Worse Than Trash versus Drew and the Gruesome Grinders in a massive playoff implication game here. Tony needs to pretty much win out to guarantee himself a spot in the playoffs. Drew has the points to probably win tiebreakers if he loses a game. So big matchup for Tony. Big matchup for Drew, but a little bit less pressure if he does lose. Let's start with Drew in your own matchup.
Yeah, I got the Gruesome Grinders. Really grinding out a couple of wins the last 2 weeks and kind of figuring out how to win these games despite the high scores. So I'm gonna go with the Gruesome Grinders, carry the momentum, and make it 5 wins in a row.
All right, John.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the GGs this week. I think Tony is gonna have one of his dud weeks. A lot of boomer bust on his team. Don't think it's gonna happen this week. And Drew is on fire right now. So give me the GGs.
Noel.
Yeah, I'm looking at the matchup this week. I'm picking the Gruesome Grinders.
Cool. Froze. You just froze for like 5 seconds. All right. Sam, who you got in this one?
I've got Drew and the Gruesome Grinders, and they are my lock. I think.
Drew's my lock.
Rolling. I think they're just going to keep rolling into the playoffs.
All right. Tomas.
I think Drew's team's going to give out on him here. So GG's, that's going to be a no for me. Worse Than Trash is going to be a yes.
Drew has had the most volatile luck in the league so far. Most people either very good or very bad. Very good, Josh. Frauds. Very good luck this year. Bad, Noel, Zack. Terrible luck this year. Middle, Drew Mahold. Terrible first half. Amazing second half of the season so far. It's turning around. I am taking Worse Than Trash over the Gruesome Grinders. And it is not going to get to that 5 wins for the GGs. So we do have a bonus question this week, just a quick one. And it is, will Mark Andrews score double digits this week, assuming that Baltimore plays? Drew, will he score double digits?
No.
John?
No.
Noel?
No.
Boo!
This is great
Yep.
viewing experience.
I've got the under. I say no.
Thomas?
I know one thing. I know tight ends. Yes. If he
All
plays,
right,
he
no,
is questionable.
Not a
That's
chance.
probably an important factor to consider here. Injury. I mean,
Doesn't
if
play, then it's
that's-
under.
If he
That's
doesn't
0
play,
points.
that's an under. That's a no from me. 5-1. Thomas, good luck on that one, but I don't.
Thomas, you might need a better tight end to keep along with Kelsey. I have one in mind.
Thomas,
Nah, I'm
trade
good.
Andrews.
Oh, okay.
Trade talks? Question mark.
What's this?
All right.
What's this
Thomas-
trade negotiations
trade
going
me
on
Andrews right
after
now.
the trade deadline?
All right.
Is this tampering?
This is clearly
What are you doing?
tampering. That's all we have for this week on the Pong Stars Pick'em. Scores real quick before we sign off. Noel in the lead at 42. Took the lead last week after Sam had a 1 score in week 11.
Give me that dub. gotta win
Noel's at
something.
42. Drew 41. Sam 39. Zach 37. Thomas 34. John 33.
Yes! Yes!
John scoring 2 to Thomas's 5 is what did him in on that one. So it's what we got.
It's your fault too, Thomas. I locked you.
That's true. Hey, I had myself winning too.
Scoreboard's coming up, and we'll see you boys next
I
week.
did not have myself winning, and I got the lock for 2 points on John.
Cut. Welcome back from the Pick'em segment. Thanks, Pick'em players, for playing this week. One last thing about picking is the Pong Stars Turkey Day Picking Extravaganza this week for Thanksgiving. You can see I'm wearing my Thanksgiving sweater here in celebration of my favorite holiday. Definitely, food and football, what's to go wrong? So I will be releasing those Pick'em picks at the start of each game so that people know where we are at. Just thanks for playing along, boys. Season's about 5 weeks out from being over, so then we can start trading again. That's all we have from this week on The Rathole. I'm your host, Commissioner Zack Eichten. Thanks for voting.